folks, welcome. Today I'm going to start the process of removing the cylinder head from this engine. If you remember from the last video with the leak down test, we determined that the exhaust valves were leaking on this engine. So I'm going to remove the cylinder head while the engine is in the frame. The process of taking the engine out of the frame is fairly involved, and it'll just be easier to take it out while it remains in the frame. My measurements indicate it should clear. We'll find out. So stay tuned and let's get into it. This has been refinished prior to installation. So we're going to gently, hopefully without scratching, start doing this. Today we need a 6mm hex wrench to remove these top bolts. So we'll start by loosening them off, like so. These are not in there tight. They do have new rubber seals on them. So we're just going to gently loosen them off. If required, we will repaint them prior to reinstallation. Okay, for these two inner ones, which are essentially underneath the frame, so this socket won't work. I'm using just an ordinary Allen key, 6mm, and we'll use that to loosen this off. Now again, if you are doing this at home, as always, I recommend using the correct manual for this motorcycle. They are readily available on the internet. This is a GSX-R1100 service manual, and it details step by step on how to do this. This video is just how I do it and is no substitute for the manual. In order to do it in the correct fashion, I strongly recommend that you get the manual and follow the manual step by step. Okay, we've taken off the 8 top bolts here. The head is still not ready to come off. We have to undo these screws holding on these oil return lines. And then there's a bolt at the front of the engine, which is over here, and one on top. Here's the forward bolt. Here's the rear bolt. And these are the 2 oil return lines. So next we undo these, then we'll undo those 2 bolts. We'll be able to take the valve cover off. Okay, so I'm using a 5mm hex key. And this is just to break the torque on these bolts. Hopefully once the torque is broken, they should be relatively easy to take out. As we loosen this off, this is, remember we ran this engine, so this will have oil in it. And with oil in it, we are looking at it will leak down onto the engine, something I don't want to do. So we'll have a couple of baggies ready. I've got some small rag right here. And I'm going to wrap it in the rag, put it in the baggie, and then use a zip tie. So next we're going to remove this bolt right here. Again, a 6mm. Out it comes. So before we can remove this cylinder head, there are 4 bolts. You can see 2 of them right here. These have to come out as well. So that's the next thing we'll do, is remove these 4 bolts. So you'll need a 10mm socket to remove these. Now the valve cover is completely loose now, so it should, in theory, just lift off. And there we go. So we don't want to risk scratching it. So I have an old pillowcase, which seems to be the perfect size for this. I'm going to cover the valve cover with that. And lift it out. So it's now completely off the engine. So you can see here, it's completely off. And it's ready. Okay. Now again, getting this out and clearing the cam chains is a bit of an art. I'll show you what I mean. I'm still recording. As I remove this, you'll see that manipulating this, it is possible to do it, but it requires a fair bit of manipulation to get it over the cam chain. I think it was generally easier to go this way with it. There we go. So, valve cover is off, and here's the valve cover. So it's going to go into the bag for storage, and we'll continue on. It's a shame to have to pull the head on this motorcycle. It has very low kilometers on it, or mileage. Regrettably, when it was put into storage 30 years ago, it wasn't stored correctly, and this has led to some rust on the exhaust valves. So we're going to consult the manual next, see what the next step is. At this point in time, it's not a bad idea to take stock of things. There is really no point in marking the chain versus the cams, because they should be positioned correctly with the pistons at top dead center. And there is a procedure in the manual to do that. So I'm going to place a small mark anyways on the cam drive and the chain, just as a reference. It will not be the determining factor for the position of the cam lobe versus the top dead center. So according to the manual, the next thing to remove is this cam chain idler, which is held on by these 4 bolts. This has a gear inside, keeps the cam chain orientated correctly. These bolts are 10mm bolts. And they do have a torque rating, so we'll have to use that when we reinstall them. So we've removed 1 bolt from the cam chain idler. We're removing the next one. And again, as I said, you want to be careful doing this. You can see I'm removing this bolt right here. You do not want to drop this into the engine. That would be a chore to get that out. So we'll just take it out carefully. It is slippery. It does have oil on it. You can see on my finger here that there is oil on it. So the bolt is slippery, and when it comes off the thread, it doesn't want to come out right away. There it is. So I'll fish it out. And this one came out with the bracket attached. So we have to be careful of that. Again, we're storing everything in a baggie. Just keep it all in one place. So take this bolt out. So it's easier using the socket like this. Remove this. I can take my hand underneath and get a good grip on the bolt, as you see, like that. I can hold the bolt into the socket and wiggle it out, just like that. So once this is done, this should allow the removal of the cam chain idler. It's very slippery now. There's the whole cam chain idler, as you can see here. Has the gear attached to it. There are no washers or anything, so that looks good. We'll do an inspection once the cams are out. But with that out of here now, this loosens off the chain considerably, and we should be able to remove the cams once we've taken them off. The manual states that once the cam chain idler is out, the next item is to remove the 10 camshaft journal holders by removing the bolts. So these are the journal holders. These are your camshaft journal holders right here. You can see them here and over here and here and here. So that's the next step. These hold the bearings, which hold the camshafts in place. So again, this we have to be careful of because we need to number these and make sure they go back on, because we're reinstalling the crankshaft with the correct bearing in the correct location. So this is a bit of a critical process. So these need to be numbered in order, and then they're kept in order with the bearings, associated bearings, as we do that. So that's the next step.